Well, what you discover when you surrender your heart to God is that the heart is the source of wisdom, not the mind. And the heart realizes that it is the legitimate authority, not the mind. All the mind can do is calculate. It cannot really have an accurate understanding of the dharmic accuracy of any action or thought or word spoken or the meaning even of any event. It is the heart, when it's opened and in accord with the will of God, that then enlightens the mind. The light goes from the heart to the mind, in fact. So this is why jnana itself is bhakti. You cannot actually separate them. There are people who are much more in the beginning, devotees and others who are philosophers, let's say, and want to think all of this out. But at a certain point they meet, and you cannot escape the unification of mind and heart, because that is what grants transcendence of the ego that keeps the two separate. And that's why the ego can be psychopathic, because it can repress its own heart, its own sense of goodness, its own feeling that there are any ethical demands or obligations or any sense of loyalty to God and to truth, etc. And so the unification of mind with the heart open to the real, not the heart closed with defenses around it, that has sentiments and desires, but not the reality of love, right, which is surrender and is freedom from judgment and is total acceptance.
Thank you, because I've been meditating and contemplating this a lot, this point of dropping the ego defenses completely. And I noticed that as soon as there's more silence, it's almost as if in that silence there's more of a beckoning of the heart to open. And immediately I noticed that that's then where the battle is. It's like I want to be in more silence, but then the heart starts more opening, and it's more that I'm afraid of the heart opening rather than the silence.
Yeah, of course. Sure, because then the game is up for the ego, because the ego is the refusal to love. It's like what I told Nirgun. Don't believe that fear that you'll be taken advantage of, exploited, whatever, if you don't have your defenses and your ability to be aggressive and stand your ground against the other and all of that. So there's a way in which the ego will convince you that you shouldn't open your heart, because you'll be vulnerable and hurt again, and you don't want to be hurt, right? So, but when you really open your heart to God, you become immune to all hurt, okay? But only when you are also immune to your ego and its narratives. That's the real danger, is the ego's false thoughts that cause you to then reject growth and reject your own divine nature, and then stay in a fearful and angry state that acts from that level of duality and of egocentricity, okay? And because today every ego has been inadequately raised with not a sufficient amount of attention and love, and therefore there's a series of downward escalating disorders, from attention disorder and learning difficulties, which are all refusals. Their anger at the system, I refuse to learn, I'm not going to pay attention, they didn't pay attention to me, and all the way down to autism and psychopathic behavior. They weren't good to me, why do I need to be good to anyone? I'm just going to go for what I can get out of it and stab anyone in the back that I need to along the way. or all the way into psychosis, where I reject even rationality and sense. I'll live in my delirium. I don't need the world's common sense because it's all nonsense anyway, and a total rejection of the ego's capacity to think at all. And all of that happens out of hatred and rejection and foreclosure of the soul's true nature. So you don't want to fall into that, because once you fall, even at a minor level, you're captured by the lower death drive that wants to take you all the way down. And you shouldn't underestimate its power, and you should be very clearly able to discern that those narratives of the ego that make one feel more nihilistic and antagonistic and alienated, those are all trying to get you down into the deepest hell realm that it can take you. And you don't want to be imprisoned by its power. Okay, so only opening the heart will give you the power of love that can reject its rejection of life, of goodness, of the eternal beauty of what you are, and of the nature of creation itself.
And is it then the power of love that gives one the strength to stay in silence?
Yes, but it has to be the purest love of the source of your being. And you have to lose all interest in what's happening in the phenomenal plane in order to connect to the real. And then you are able to give that blissful love to everyone unconditionally, without judgments of they're worthy of my love, this one isn't. Because love that is finite is not real love. Love by its nature is infinite. And it does not reject.